Hey nerds, and welcome back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D's Theories and Conspiracies. I'm Brian from Good Nerd, Bad Nerd. This week we are pleased to announce that we are unofficially and in no way whatsoever actually sponsored by Loot Crate. You can see I am modeling my brand new Loot Crate shirt. If you're not currently a member, you should definitely sign up, and hopefully this plug will get me free Loot Crate. Anyways, down to business. This week wasn't a game changer, but it did screw up a lot of my theories and confuse a lot of them, because now I'm not sure which way to go. We had some Coulson stuff, we had some Skye stuff, and really we had some Rising Tide and whatever the big organization stuff is. So those are what I'm talking about tonight. First, we're going to talk Coulson. Now, is he an LMD? Is he a clone? Honestly, at this point, I don't know. It's got to be one of those two. We had another line that was dropped, or kind of a discussion about trusting his gut, and he trusted his gut with Skye, but his gut was wrong. He didn't, so what could that mean? Well, if he's a life model decoy, he has no guts. He's a robot, so how can you trust your gut when you don't have any? If he's a clone, well, they're new guts, so they have no experience. Maybe that's being a bit literal, but none of the lines pushed me one way or the other. So we're still in this life model decoy or clone. I don't know. I'm still leaning more clone, because he was a really bad shot in there with his little zapper gun, and I have to believe that a robot would have had at least better accuracy. But maybe that's just Coulson was rusty from not being in the field for too long and wasted all of his ammo shooting into a wall of fire. Anyways, yeah, we're still drawing a blank on going one way or the other there. Number 2, this is Skye. Now, first I thought she was going to be Jessica Jones. Then after a week where she clearly had no skills whatsoever, I thought she was just a patsy. Now this week with the whole parents line, I tried to do some research on characters who had important parents that were some way involved with S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Avengers, things like that. And Jessica Drew does come up. Her parents did work for Hydra, which I've explained in the past, which could explain why S.H.I.E.L.D. would redact that information and try and keep that hidden if they were Hydra agents that got caught or something. In the adoption file, any record of them would be redacted by S.H.I.E.L.D. So that's, that is an option. Another option is Jean Foucault, or as she does go by, Finesse. Now, she was in the Avengers Academy comic, and the TV show is going to be taking some license with anything they're taking from the comic. I mean, that's just a given. They're not going to do a true carryover from the comic. So if we are assuming it's her, then the character basically can pick up skills and learn skills really quickly. Now, obviously, it doesn't seem like that is something she has, but we do get the sense that she's picking up the combat skills pretty quickly now from some lines Ward says. If this is the case, and it is Finesse, then a cool thing about this is allegedly her dad is the Taskmaster, who has his memory is basically like a photocopier, and he can copy any move he sees once. So if he sees your fighting style, he can completely copy you, and basically nothing you do is going to surprise him, and he can predict all your moves. He's a pretty cool character, and he's got really come back more into the mainstream in the last few years, especially with the Dark Reign storylines. So if that is a relation, that would be really cool, because he could be a big bad villain to play on later on down the road. So those are the two. Jessica Drew obviously is still the Spider-Woman aspect. Finesse, really kind of a shot in the dark, and it's probably not it, but I just think it would be cool if it was it, if that's who Skye really was, because of the Taskmaster connection. He'd be a good villain for the agents to take on. So that takes us to number 3, and what is this big bad organization? Now I've gone between Hydra and AIM, and I think if we're going to what the comic actually says, it could be both. Now, when I say this, Hydra was this giant organization that had all these lower branches, and AIM originally was the science organization of Hydra. So it does make sense to a certain degree that AIM would be, and Hydra could be working together. You could have the remnant AIM scientists from Iron Man 3 all picked up by whatever the Hydra organization was, and that's kind of how you get the merging of the two. The girl in the flower dress, Reyna, totally feels like an AIM scientist. You know, she doesn't necessarily want to kill you, but she doesn't care if you live. She just needs to get her job done, and this is analyzing the, you know, in this specific case, the platelets of Scorch, and seeing how that works with the Extremis. Totally has the feel of an AIM agent. There was some watermarks in the background on the screens in the lab, but I couldn't get a good look at them, and they probably didn't. I'm sure it didn't say Hydra or AIM. It was probably some parent organization or just a a face that they hid behind. So that's my current theory on that right now. We haven't gotten too much more. Speaking of them though, the big bad guy that we saw in the post-credits scene, on IMDb he is listed as Poe, which actually has no relevance to anything because I could not find a single character named Poe in the Marvel 616 universe. There, in one of the offshoot kind of what-if universes, there is a character named Poe, but he's a giant kind of bruiser of a guy that was with the Chinese government, had some strange powers, and it doesn't seem like that is at all what they're doing, but IMDb does have him listed as Poe. So we'll see how that plays in. Finally, the fourth thing to talk about is the rising tide. They kind of gave us the impression in this episode that it really is just kind of a bunch of WikiLeaks kind of hackers. I mean, they even reference in Snowden when Skye is talking to her boyfriend, whatever his name was. They give the impression it's like anonymous, a bunch of individuals who are working towards a common goal but don't actually interact as one organization. I kind of think that that's what they believe, but they're all being kept in line by this Hydra AIM group, which is why Reyna, girl in the flower dress, was able to find this guy so quickly when they needed him to get Scorch basically off the grid. They knew exactly where he was and knew how to get to him. Outside of that, Rising Tide, I think, is just kind of a joke. It's the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. version of Anonymous. It's not a big unified organization. It's these individuals who are all under the same name. But that's kind of what I got so far. I don't think there's any big theories or mysteries that I've missed yet. But what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? If you disagree, shut up. You're wrong. But until then, check out our reviews. They're on the blog at goodnerdbadnerd.com. Make sure to hit up Loot Crate and let them know we sent you. So for Good Nerd, Bad Nerd, I'm Brian, and this is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D's Theories and Conspiracies.